Nobody tells you when you've been quietly replaced. There's no announcement, no argument, no dramatic moment. There's just a subtle change in how long their eyes stay on you before drifting somewhere else, and somehow, your body notices before your pride does. Something in the room goes slightly out of alignment. Conversations keep happening, but you're no longer at the center of their gravity. You're still present, still included, just not necessary. You felt this before. That's the disturbing part. It always begins the same way. At first, they're unusually attentive, not loud about it, not obvious, just precise. They catch details most people miss. They remember things you never thought were important. When you talk, they don't check the room disappears. For once, you're not background noise. Then, without any clear reason, the atmosphere shifts. They don't pull away. They don't disappear. They simply stop arriving all the way. Their responses get lighter. Their presence gets thinner. The energy that used to land on you starts landing somewhere else. You don't lose them. You get downgraded. You tell yourself nothing changed. You tell yourself you're overthinking. You tell yourself you're being dramatic. But your nervous system already recognized the pattern. It always does. It knows the exact moment you stop being part of the equation. This never starts with distance. It starts with comfort. Not your comfort. Theirs. They don't fall into you. They settle. Like something inside them finally stops shaking. Like they found a quiet place to rest. And you were that place. For a while, until you weren't. They don't enter your life like a storm. They arrive quietly, almost carefully. At first, it feels accidental. A conversation that lasts longer than it should. A silence that doesn't feel awkward. A look that doesn't rush away. And you don't realize it yet, but something in them has already decided you are useful. Not in a calculated way, not in a cruel way. In the way a tired person recognizes a chair before they recognize the room. They start speaking to you differently than they speak to others. Not louder, not more excited, slower, like they're finally hearing themselves think. They tell you things that don't sound finished yet. Half-formed thoughts, confessions without a clear ending. You don't interrupt. You don't organize it for them. You don't try to fix the shape of what they're saying. You let it spill. And because you don't interfere, they begin to associate the relief with you. They start feeling lighter after they leave. Calmer, more stable, more like a version of themselves that doesn't argue so much on the inside. They don't connect that feeling to a process. They connect it to a person. You. Without noticing, you become a place instead of a presence. Somewhere their mind goes to rest. Somewhere their tension loosens its grip. They don't fall in love with your habits, or your values, or your future. They fall in love with the version of themselves that shows up in your vicinity. And you're very good at making that version possible. You've always been good at it. You know how to stay still when someone needs to unload. You know how to listen without steering. You know how to make space without announcing that you're doing it. You know how to make people feel received instead of examined. So they begin to bring more of themselves to you. Not because you asked, because you don't. They start seeing things in you that you never claimed. Depth, stability, strength, clarity. They hang these ideas on you like coats, and you don't correct them. You let them believe you are the structure holding the room together. And in a way you are. But not in the way they think. You become the emotional furniture, the background constant, the thing that's always there so it doesn't need to be acknowledged. At first, they're grateful, then they're comfortable, then they're unconscious. They start talking more than they ask. They start assuming instead of checking. They start treating your presence like a given instead of a decision. And that's when your body notices, not your thoughts, your body. A small tightening, a subtle alert, a familiar internal signal you've learned how to ignore. Something is changing again. They don't need you in the same way anymore. Not because the connection is over, but because the function is. They came to you carrying something unresolved, something unintegrated, something that didn't yet have a place to sit inside them, and you gave it a place. They borrowed your nervous system, your steadiness, your silence, and now they're standing on their own. They don't disappear. They just reposition you. You're still in the scene, just not in the center of it. Your role becomes flexible, optional, adjustable, and the most unsettling part is not the loss, it's the familiarity. Because this is not the first time someone has stabilized in your presence and then slowly stopped organizing their world around you. You don't draw people who are settled. You draw people who are in between. People in quiet transitions. People who don't yet know what's missing. Only that something inside them doesn't quite line up. They don't come looking for connection. They come looking for coherence. They come looking for a place where their inner noise can finally arrange itself into something that makes sense. And you provide that without realizing the cost. You don't make them whole. You hold the piece they haven't learned to hold yet. They confuse that with closeness. And you let them. Because being chosen feels rare, even when you can sense the reason is temporary. Even when some quiet part of you already knows how this usually ends, you only start noticing the pattern once it's repeated enough times to become uncomfortable. Different people, same shape. They arrive during a fracture, a shift, a private collapse they don't know how to name yet. Their life is already moving. They just don't see the direction, and you become the still surface in the middle of that movement. They attach quickly, not emotionally, functionally, like something in them recognizes exactly what you're for. They open, they soften, they stabilize, and for a while it looks like something real is being built. They become clearer, more confident, more directed, and then they grow past the version of themselves that needed you. They don't turn against you. They just stop orienting around you. You notice it when they stop asking for your input, when your absence doesn't change the mood of the room, when their decisions start happening with or without you in the frame. They didn't stop caring. They just finished using the part of you they came for. You tell yourself, this is normal, that this is how relationships move, that this is what change looks like. But the part of you that tracks patterns stays very, very quiet because it knows something you don't want to say out loud. You don't attach to people the way they attach to you. You attach to being necessary, to being the stabilizer, the translator, the emotional anchor. You don't build your place by asking to be chosen. You build it by being useful. And that's a dangerous way to survive. Because people don't leave what they love. They leave what they've already integrated. They leave what has completed its function. And your function is designed to disappear once it works. You step into this role without noticing. You're already there before you realize what you're doing. Listening, adjusting, making room, shrinking your own shape so someone else can expand. You call it understanding. They call it safety. No one calls it what it really is. A quiet transaction. They take structure. You take the feeling of closeness. They grow. You remain. And slowly, something in you starts to tense. A background anxiety. A low, constant vigilance. You become more careful with your words. You start monitoring the atmosphere. You try to preserve the version of yourself they first responded to. You don't realize you're negotiating your position. You don't realize you're trying to stay relevant in a dynamic that was never built to be equal. They didn't fall in love with you. They fell in love with who they could be near you. And once they become that person, you become excess. They don't mean to hurt you. They just continue forward. And you're left holding the quiet where your importance used to live. You never describe it that way. You say things like, "It just changed," or "We grew in different directions," or "It ran its course." You make it sound mutual. But your body remembers the exact second the balance shifted, the moment their attention started living somewhere else, the moment you stopped being the emotional center of the room. You didn't argue. You didn't demand. You adjusted. You always do. And this is the part you avoid looking at. There is something in you that is exceptionally good at becoming psychologically convenient. You know how to read people without exposing the skill. You know how to hold tension without naming it. You know how to make others feel seen without asking to be seen in return. You think this makes you safe. In some ways, it does. But it also teaches people to experience you as a passage, not a destination, a bridge between who they were and who they're becoming. And nobody lives on a bridge. They cross it. You can feel this even while things are still fine. A faint instability, a quiet awareness that the closeness is conditional, that the connection has an expiration date no one is supposed to talk about. You notice it when their questions turn into statements, when their confusion turns into direction. You helped build that direction. You're just not part of where it's going. You don't get angry. You get smaller. You start disappearing before you're actually gone. And the most uncomfortable truth is this. This isn't something that keeps happening to you. This is something you keep participating in. Because being needed feels safer than being wanted. Because being useful feels more reliable than being chosen. Because being the place someone becomes feels easier than asking someone to stay while you do. So you keep attracting people who are in between themselves, and you keep offering yourself in exactly the way that makes leaving possible. There's a reason this didn't just pass through you. Something in you recognized it, not in your head, in that quiet place where patterns live before they have names. The part of you that already knows how this usually goes, even when you pretend it's different this time. You've spent a long time being the place where other people find their balance, the calm room, the steady surface, the pause in their chaos, and you've told yourself that this means something, that it counts, that it's enough. Maybe it was. For them. But notice what it's cost you. You don't have to decide anything tonight. You don't have to change your life. Just sit with the one honest question you usually avoid. The one about what you keep offering and what you keep not asking for. If this video felt uncomfortably precise, you're not alone in that. There are other quiet realizations waiting here too. You can leave a small mark in the comments. Not for anyone else, just to admit to yourself that something landed. And if you want to stay in this kind of conversation, you can keep this place close. A simple like tells the algorithm nothing important. It just tells me you were here. Subscribing doesn't promise anything. It just means you're willing to keep noticing. That's enough. Not everything needs a dramatic ending. Some things just need to be seen before they keep repeating.